On today's video, I want to continue the anti-aging theme and discuss the anti-aging benefits of hydrogen water. Hydrogen water is also known as water that you add molecular hydrogen to. And after today's video, you might suspect hydrogen water to be the holy grail for anti-aging. And we'll dive into why that may be here in a moment. So first, what is hydrogen water? Hydrogen water, like I said, is water with molecular hydrogen added to it. Molecular hydrogen is also called dihydrogen because the molecular formula for hydrogen is H2. You're familiar with water being H2O or having the molecular formula H2O. That's two hydrogens bound to an oxygen to make water. Well, hydrogen or molecular hydrogen is adding two more H's bound together to the water. So you're not adding any more oxygen. You're not adding oxygen to the water. You're adding hydrogen. And molecular hydrogen, again, is a gas where two hydrogens are covalently bonded together. And because they're bound together, they're forming that molecule of H2, which is also called molecular hydrogen or dihydrogen. And so it's a neutrally charged molecule, so it's not alkalizing or acidifying the water. It's just literally adding hydrogen. So let's dive into why that might be important. What are the health benefits of hydrogen water? And you'll find that this has been studied for over 10 years. And so there's a substantial amount of research evidence behind it supporting its use. And we'll dive into that now. So let's jump over to the research. So here we are with a paper from 2021 in the journal Experimental Gerontology. And this paper, as the title says, was looking at the effects of 6 months of drinking hydrogen-rich water on the molecular and phenotypic biomarkers of aging in older adults, 70 years and older. So this is an important study because much of the research on hydrogen water has been done in middle-aged or younger people. There wasn't a lot on elderly. And so this paper looked at 70 plus to say, hey, consistent consumption of hydrogen-rich water, does it impact aging in a positive way? And so if we dive in here, we can see that the average the average person in this study was age 76 plus or minus 5.5 years. So, about 69, 70 until 81 was the average, or was this the span of, or the age of the people in the study. And they were drinking a half liter per day of hydrogen rich water. That's what HRW stands for, at a parts per million of hydrogen of 15 for 6 months. So the treatment group was drinking the half liter a day of hydrogen water. The control group was drinking just normal water, 0 ppms of hydrogen. And what the researchers did was they looked at biomarkers at baseline, so at 0, and at 6 months to see, does this impact DNA, cholesterol, oxidative stress, inflammation, skin wrinkles, blood pressure, quality of life, etc. And so we'll dive into what it found here in a minute. But first of all, why would we even want to do this? Why do we care if it's anti-aging? Well, because the number of older adults in America is increasing yearly, right? In 2016, approximately 50 million US adults were age 65 or older, representing 15% of the population. That number is expected to reach 71 million by 2030 and 98 million by 2060. And at that point, older adults will make up 25% of the population. And I'll be one of them at that time, Lord willing. So as time passes, we're getting more and more older adults making up more and more of the population. And so if we look at the average population in the US, the average American, regardless of age, is unhealthy. Well, the older we get, the worse our health gets as we're looking at the average American, right? They're obese, they're diabetic, they're demented. And so that is a lot of disability and lack of loss of quality of life. But B, it's very expensive to the individual, to the family and caretakers, and to the nation as a whole. So if we can find inexpensive, safe strategies to slow aging and preserve vitality, then that will be a boon to the population. And doubly, it'll reduce everything we just talked about, and also if they don't bring a side effect load along with them, then they're better than medications for that strategy. So, as the authors say here, improving prevention and management of age-related disorders remains of the utmost importance for health caregivers in helping older adults remain healthy as long as possible while tackling ever-increasing population with effective and safe approaches. Diet appears to be a practical, flexible, and affordable approach that could help older people live longer and healthier lives. That's the Captain Obvious statement of the day, right? We all know that. Don't need a research citation to prove it, but it's nice to have them, and there's tons of them. But what they want to know is, what about water? We have to drink water more than we have to eat food. So if we could deliver an anti-aging therapeutic that's safe and inexpensive through water, that could be even more effective or additive, synergistic with the healthier diet. So as getting old is accompanied by telomere attrition and DNA damage, any nutraceutical that is able to directly influence telomere metabolism, slow their deterioration, and diminish aging might extend the life and health span. So if you're not sure what telomeres are, I just made a video on Thursday last week or Friday. It's a YouTube short and it's called Vitamin D is Anti-Aging. You can search that. And I share a brand new paper from 2025 that showed that taking vitamin D, 2000 IU a day, slowed telomere shortening over a 5-year period. And so what are telomeres? Telomeres are the end caps of our DNA. So, our DNA is formed in a double helix, right? And on the end caps of our DNA, you could say is this piece here, which is a telomere. Well, picture this as your shoelace, and the telomere is the tape at the end of your shoelace. Okay. Well, every time you have a cell division, which we're doing all day, every day, right? We're constantly turning over our cells and replacing our cells. Every time we have to copy a cell to replace it, we slice a little bit off the end and a little bit more of the next division and a little bit more and a little bit more. Well, if you keep slicing, by the time you get to the end of the tape, say on your shoelace, you're dead. When your telomere has shrunk its full length, you're dead. That's the end of your life. So if we can slow telomere attrition or telomere shortening, or we can keep telomeres longer for longer, that's anti-aging, that's slowing aging. And so in that video, I show you the research that showed that vitamin D slows telomere shortening. Well, these authors are also saying, hey, if hydrogen water can slow telomere shortening, again, that can be anti-aging. If we can slow DNA damage or repair DNA through methylation, that can be anti-aging. So what a great goal, and what a boon it would be if hydrogen water could do that. Previous research to this study shows that hydrogen water reduces inflammation, prevents programmed cell death, improves nutrient metabolism, enhances psychophysiological outcomes, and represses wrinkle formation in the skin. Great, make the skin look better, right? So, what did these authors find? These authors found that, again, 6 months of drinking half a liter a day of hydrogen water led to significant treatment versus time interaction found for telomere length. In other words, it slowed the shortening of your telomeres by up to 4%, as you can see right here. So hydrogen-rich water extended average telomere length by about 4%. So it actually gave life back. It anti-aged the people who were drinking it. It also improved DNA methylation. Well, methylation is how genes are expressed, turned on and off. So improving genetic function and genetic expression led to healthier outcomes. The hydrogen-rich water was deemed safe and could be put forward as a promising anti-aging agent, is what these authors concluded. And if we dive into the details a little bit more, again, the telomere length was the telomere is lengthened about 4%, so slow, actually reversing aging. The DNA methylation was significantly higher in the hydrogen-rich water people than in the normal water people. And there were multiple brain changes in the people who drank hydrogen-rich water, including, quote, it was superior to control water at increasing brain choline in the left frontal gray matter. Well, the frontal area is where our executive function happens, and the left side is where things like numbers and word finding and names are. So memory, right? And choline is the nutrient needed to make acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter that is used for short-term memory and used in the hippocampus, which is the area that degrades in dementia and Alzheimer's. So hydrogen-rich water was promoting healthier brains, healthier memory. And then the hydrogen-rich water group also saw significantly improved chair stand performance tests. Why might that be important? Well, leg strength, balance, the ability to get up and down out of a chair when we're young doesn't seem that important, but once you lose that function, you realize how important it was. So the longer and better that we can keep older adults performing chair stand performance tests, the more functional they'll be, the better quality of life because they'll be better at getting around. So these authors conclude, owing to the pleiotropic mechanism, so basically the many different mechanisms of hydrogen action, this simple biomedical gas can be recognized as a possible anti-aging agent that tackles several hallmarks of aging, including loss of function and telomere length shortening. So boom, molecular hydrogen, hydrogen water, anti-aging. What else can it do? Here's a paper from 2013 entitled Hydrogen-Rich Water Decreases Serum LDL Cholesterol Levels and Improves HDL Levels in Patients with Potential Metabolic Syndrome. How about that? An option other than a statin drug. If we can get the same effect or better without the massive side effect list, that would be quite a boon for society. Not for pharmaceutical companies, bottom line, but for us. Let's see what they have to say. Or we found that hydrogen has beneficial lipid lowering effects. We studied the effect of hydrogen-rich water on the content, composition, and biological activities of serum lipoproteins on 20 patients with potential metabolic syndrome. Blood testing showed that consumption of hydrogen-rich water for 10 weeks resulted in decreased total cholesterol, decreased LDL, and decreased ApoB and ApoE. I've shared in previous videos that ApoB is the best cholesterol marker for cardiovascular disease risk. So if hydrogen-rich water is lowering ApoB, it's lowering your cardiovascular disease risk. ApoE, we've talked in previous videos, is tied to dementia and Alzheimer's risk. So lowering ApoE in the serum would be beneficial for brain memory cognition. We found hydrogen water significantly improved HDL functionality assessed in 4 independent ways. And those 4 ways are nerdy, but basically it reduced inflammation and prevented LDL oxidation, which is key steps in the formation of atherosclerosis. So again, preventing atherosclerosis prevents cardiovascular disease. Further, we found consumption of hydrogen-rich water resulted in an increase in antioxidant enzyme superoxide dismutase, which, other than glutathione, is the second most powerful antioxidant in our body. So the hydrogen-rich water is strong antioxidant. In conclusion, supplementation with hydrogen-rich water seems to decrease serum or blood LDL and ApoB levels, improve cholesterol-injured HDL functions, and reduce oxidative stress. It may have a beneficial role in prevention of potential metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is a combination of cholesterol issues, obesity, high blood pressure, and blood sugar issues. So big time study here showing that we can benefit cholesterol without statin drugs. What else can it do? Here's a study looking further at cardiovascular health. Molecular hydrogen alleviates cellular senescence, which is basically aging or death, right, in endothelial cells. Substantial evidence indicates that molecular hydrogen has beneficial vascular effects because of its antioxidant or anti-inflammatory effects. Thus, hydrogen-rich water may prove to be an effective anti-aging drink. So the authors go through and study it and how it impacts endothelial cells. And what they conclude is that molecular hydrogen has long-lasting antioxidant and anti-aging effects on vascular endothelial cells, so on our blood vessels, through the NRF2 pathway. Well, the NRF2 pathway is a pathway that is strongly antioxidant, glutathione production, etc., even after transient exposure to molecular hydrogen. So look at that. Long-lasting effect even after transient exposure. Doesn't necessarily have to be drank for 6 months, but hey, it's so easy to do. We should over time, I think. Hydrogen-rich water may thus be a functional drink that increases longevity. And then one more to look at here. Molecular and cellular mechanisms associated with effects of molecular hydrogen in heart and nervous system. So again, these authors say, this is from 2020. These authors say molecular hydrogen is recognized as an emerging therapeutic, and its positive effects in the treatment of pathologies have been documented in both experimental and clinical studies. Different mechanisms by which it functions and can help cardiovascular and nervous system health. It regulates antioxidant status and intracellular signaling, gene expression, and cellular responses such as house cleaning and tissue remodeling. It regulates NRF2, which again is part of the pathway that drives glutathione production. And they say the antioxidant functions of hydrogen are closely associated with protein kinase pathways, which is those pathways are very important in insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome and many other pathways. So this would be one mechanism by how the molecular hydrogen is helping for those potential metabolic syndrome patients we saw in the previous study. Molecular hydrogen also modulates autophagy, which is cellular health house cleaning. So autophagy is triggered by fasting. That's one of the major benefits of fasting is stimulating autophagy. So if we can stimulate it through drinking molecular hydrogen, that would be excellent as well. And then it modulates matrix metalloproteinase mediated tissue remodeling. Well, matrix metalloproteinases are enzymes that break down connective tissue. And so too much of that breaks down connective tissue, and that can lead to, unhealthy skin and wrinkles and things like that. But it can also lead to issues in diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and other inflammatory arthritic diseases. So lots of utility for hydrogen, water, and molecular hydrogen. Now, where can you get it? Well, let's switch back to the slideshow. All right, so where can we get molecular hydrogen? You can get molecular hydrogen from a company called Research Nutritionals, and they are a practitioner-only company. And as we've talked about in recent videos, you want to use practitioner-only companies because they are third-party tested and shown to actually contain what the label says in their product, whereas, as we've seen recently, supplements sold on Amazon have been found to not only not include what the label says, but also include things that it doesn't say, like Viagra and NSAIDs and medications that you don't want to be getting from a supplement. So if you are interested in molecular hydrogen, you can pick it up through Research Nutritionals by creating an account through my website here, functionalmedicincecharlotte.com/H2. And again, it's very safe. It's just a tablet you drop in your water, it dissolves in your water, and after about 2 minutes, it's fully dissolved, and you drink it right away and you move on with your day. Let's open it up for questions.
Let's say you're trying to lower the lipid, your cholesterol. Would you still say 2 tablets in about 20 ounces per day?
I would start there. Yeah. And then follow your cholesterol levels through
Gotcha.
labs. So the people in this study, Maria, just so you know, they were drinking 400 to 500 milliliters 2 times a day. So a total minimum consumption of 900 milliliters to a maximum of 1,000. So, 1,000 milliliters, that's 1 liter, right? So again, across the different studies, the anti-aging one here, these guys were using half a liter a day. The cholesterol-based study, they were up to 1 liter a day. So uh, up to 1 liter a day total, or half a liter twice a day here. So
Okay.
I mean, not a ton of water. Hopefully, we're all drinking it,
Right, right.
closer
It's
to
the
2 liters or more a day.
yeah, I think it was the amount of tablets that we were trying to figure out.
Yeah. So um, I would start with two total a day, and you could do that one twice a day or two together, depending on what works for you. Any other questions? And Maria, that was for 10 weeks, by the way, just to remind you.
Right, right. So after 10 weeks is a good time to check your blood levels.
Mhm.
Okay.
I do a baseline and then, yeah, and then 10 weeks later, test it again.